Good evening. Today I want to discuss a well-known idea about Shavuos, but with the spin that the Chalban puts on it. It's very well known that Chazal say, Vayichan Sham Yisrael Neged Ahar. The pasuk says that Klal Yisrael camped there opposite the mountain. As Rashi famously points out from Chazal, the word Vayichan is written in the singular, and that tells us Ki ish echad b'lev echad, that they were as one man with one heart. The Chabad explains that we need to understand that our connection to Torah emanates from the fact that we are Jews and we are a member of the Jewish nation. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Moshe commanded us the Torah. Morasha kihilas Yaakov. It's something that is an inheritance of the congregation of Yaakov. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'nasan lanu es Torah. So, in the bracha we make on the Torah, we mention that Hashem chose us from amongst all the nations. That's why we're taught that if someone is a Gentile, studies Torah, he's chayav misa because he's taking something which is not his. Our connection to Torah is a result of our national identity. And the same is true when it comes to acquiring Torah and to opening our heart to the Torah and to its depths. Therefore, the Chalban said, the more a person is connected to the Jewish nation, and the Jewish nation is represented in a spiritual sense by the Shekhinah. I always liked the way a Rebbe of mine used to quote Rav Hutner, that Rav Hutner used to say that Klal Yisrael and the Shekhinah are the corporation of Klal Yisrael. So the more a person is connected to the, so to speak, corporate body of Klal Yisrael, the deeper is his comprehension and connection to the Torah. And that's also why humility is a prerequisite to acquiring Torah. Because in order to be part of a nation, you have to subsume yourself. That's where humility comes in. The Maharal explains that is why the Avos, the patriarchs, did not receive the Torah, because the Torah was given to a nation and not to individuals. And therefore, despite the lofty stature of the Avos, they didn't get what their descendants got because they were not a nation. Because we have to forge that connection, right? It says that by Shlomo Melch's time, B'yom Chasunaso, the day of the marriage, is the day of Matan Torah, of the giving of the Torah. There isn't a marriage between Hashem and an individual. There's a marriage between Hashem and Klal Yisrael, the Jewish nation as a whole. That is the giving of the Torah. That is the holy connection through the Torah that connects the Jewish nation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And somebody who has humility does not insist on the boundaries between himself and others, but rather he is connected to all others. That's why he merits the Torah. And therefore we have to understand that the primary stipulation for a person to connect the Torah is, is for us to be connected to each other. That's what makes us into a nation. That's what makes us into one entity, through which we can crown ourselves with the glory of the Shekhinah, which is part and parcel the same entity as Klal Yisrael, the Jewish nation. Just like a bride can't fully invest herself in a marriage with a groom unless the bride is in her own full sense of self, the same thing as a nation, we cannot fully connect as a nation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu unless we are fully in ourselves, namely with that unity. The Chalban then later on points out as follows. We know that on several occasions, Amalek attacked Klal Yisrael prior to the giving of the Torah. This happens at the end of Parshas Beshalach, after we cross through the Yam Suf. Amalek attacks right before the Jews get to Har Sinai. And again, by the story of Purim, which was another Kabbalah Satorah, as we discussed last week, Amalek attacked before that as well. Why is that? Why do we need Amalek to come and attack before we can get the Torah? The Chalban explains as follows. He says that the reason why we often find division within the Jewish nation is because of the fact that different people act differently. We have righteous people and we have less righteous people, each person being judged based on his own behavior. And if you're going to assume that the measure of a person is his actions, then there are great divisions between people. And someone who's righteous actually can't find any basis of connection to someone who's wicked. And therefore, if we are just going to look from the perspective of people's actions, then we can't find a way to relate to many other people. We can't find a way to draw close to them. We have no connection to them because each person is very different in his actions than the next person. That's not even true between the righteous and the wicked. Even among the righteous themselves, there are great distinctions between communities. That one community serves Hashem in one way, another community serves Hashem in a completely different way. One follows certain rabbis, one follows other rabbis. One has a particular educational approach, and the other one has a different educational approach. The bottom line is that from a superficial glance, people are dissimilar. Everybody lives in his own world, and his life is different than others. And therefore, from a superficial glance, there's going to be distinctions and separation between people. Even though you will find some people who are similar to you in terms of their actions, maybe they were raised similarly and therefore they have similar ideas of how to think. They come from a similar congregation and therefore they conduct themselves in a similar manner. But still, to others, there's a tendency to feel different and to feel estranged, and sometimes for there to be conflict. And that's where Amalek comes in, because Amalek did not fight with Klal Yisrael because of their actions. Amalek fought because of Klal Yisrael's identity as Jews. Amalek hates Klal Yisrael simply because they are Jewish. Unlike, for example, the Syrian Greeks who fought against the Jews because of their Torah observance. And that's why the Jews who were not so Torah observant actually were on the side of the Greeks. But when it comes to Amalek, no Jews can side with them because they won't side with any Jews. They don't care about actions. All they care about is whether somebody is Jewish or is not Jewish. And the appearance of Amalek creates within us a feeling of unity against the common enemy who's attacking all of us. And that's why Purim, as well as the giving of the Torah at Har Sinai, were all preceded by the coming of Amalek. And I want to mention, actually, a thought that popped into my head a couple of weeks ago on Lag BaOmer, that the Chalban is mentioning that the giving of the Torah Shebiksav, the written Torah, was preceded by a lack of unity that had to then be rectified in order for us to get the written Torah. From the story of Purim, we find a similar idea, because according to many of the commentators, what was accepted new at the time of Purim was the Torah Shebal Peh, the oral Torah, which we had not accepted fully beforehand, but we accepted it fully by Purim time. And also in that case, there was a lack of unity, as Hamad mentioned, that the Jews were mefuzar umeforad, scattered and separated. And on Purim, they united, Leich Knosis Kol Yehudim, go gather all the Jews. But the point I wanted to add to on Lag BaOmer is we see also that there's a connection to a lack of unity. Because Lag BaOmer, that's the day that we celebrate the secrets of the Torah. And that's preceded by the lack of unity that was manifest in the students of Rebbe Akiva. And some of the Sfarim say that one could assume that if the dying came to an end and there was a revelation of the secrets of the Torah, it must be that also a certain sense of unity was forged. So this is our message here as we enter into a time of Shavuos. It's a time of unity, but unity, as the Chalban explains, is not just unity with our family and with our next door neighbor. We have to realize that we receive the Torah as a nation. And as our national identity, it does not make a difference what our particular actions and behaviors are. We're all part of the same nation. Have a good evening.